Let me ask you a question. What if you could do more with your retirement funds than just hope for the best? With My Digital Money, you can build a self-directed IRA that goes beyond the usual, combining Bitcoin, gold, and silver for real peace of mind. Imagine Bitcoin's explosive growth, the steady strength of gold, and silver's wildcard potential all working together in one powerful account. While the market zigzags and headlines keep you guessing, these assets help shield your future from inflation and uncertainty. Why let your future hinge on just one bet? With My Digital Money, you're in control. We allow you to invest in crypto, gold, and silver all under one roof, balancing risk and reward and opening the door to bigger opportunities. Don't settle for ordinary. Build a more balanced, resilient portfolio today so you can retire with confidence. Visit My Digital Money and see how easy it is to diversify and protect your retirement today. That is mydigitalmoney.com, or just click the link in the description. Hi, and welcome to the X22 Report Spotlight. Today we have a returning guest, Claudio Gross. Claudio is the creator and owner of Precious Metals Advisory in Switzerland. You can view his site at claudiogross.ch. And I am very happy and honored to have Claudio back on the X22 Report Spotlight. Claudio, welcome back to the Spotlight.
Dave, always a pleasure talking to you.
Hey, thanks for coming back on. And you're out in Switzerland right now. And I wanted to get your take on what's going on out there because, there's a war. Trump calls it an excursion. Some people call it a mission out in Iran. And it seems that the leaders out in Europe are telling people to hunker down because an energy crisis is coming. And I just wanted to get your take on, what do the people feel about this? What do you see with energy? Give us your take on what's going on out in Europe.
Yeah, I think a lot of people in Europe understand that what's going on is not very positive and that it has a huge impact on their future, but they cannot grasp how far it will go. We have this agenda which is driven forward, imposed on us, with COVID and then, the war in Ukraine, of course, and now the whole Middle Eastern situation. And at the end of the day, even when you look at what Trump is doing right now in with Iran, it's they're destroying the energy supply, of course. So to me, it's basically just another step of deindustrialization, which we have already witnessed over the last decade. At the end of the day, especially when we look into Germany, and Ukraine, which started a few years ago, and now the Strait of Hormuz and so on, fertilizer, wheat, also food, which is mainly for Asia and Africa. Um, we are witnessing already there a long-term problems over the past few years. So I think everything is building up, um, and we're going to see. We already see energy kind of lockdowns in Asia, Cambodia, Thailand, Vietnam, rationing, oil and so on. And I think that agenda is coming, especially to Europe. That people should stay at home if they don't have to work, from the office. It's better that they stay at home to use not to use that much fuel and so on. So I think they really. I mean, even when you look at the whole situation on an economical side, it's like 2022 when the lockdown started. We had also, the whole Middle East was closed. Switzerland was complaining. We had, no Indians, no Asians. Certain cities were completely empty over the last few weeks. So yeah, it does not make sense what they are doing. It's basically all against the interest of the people, especially, not only in the Western world. But to me, it's just, they're driving the agenda further. And the aim is, of course, destruction of Western civilization, destruction of the current system. You have to destroy an old system to create a new one. And at the same time, we can see everywhere, that all these governments basically imposing digital IDs, central banking, rationing cards and all that kind of stuff. So there is no good government either on the east or on the west side. I think all those elites are basically working against their own population.
Was it following the same path as Germany? Germany was destroying their nuclear power plants. They were going, green energy. Was Switzerland doing the same thing?
I mean, it also had an impact. I mean, we are not as that extreme, and we still have a lot of water plants because because we have a lot of water over here in Switzerland. But at the end of the day, the whole energy grid, is linked with each other. So
Hmm.
if there is an imbalance like we had, I think 1 year ago in Spain, I mean, those kind of imbalance basically can lead to a complete collapse of the energy system because everything is linked with each other. But otherwise, no, I mean, we are still, yeah, we are still Switzerland. We're not part of the European Union. But of course, there is a huge pressure on our country as well to join the EU. And, they want to plunder what's left of Switzerland.
Yeah.
But, we are so far. Um, yeah, I don't give up on Switzerland. I mean, all the countries are under pressure. Everywhere we can see the same agenda. It's basically against the middle class. It's against, small and mid-sized companies. Whatever is going on, it's a nationalization of the economy through the back door. Governments is taking over more and more. And then of course the whole saber wrestling, with wars all over the place. It's all about divide and conquer. And somehow I always have the feeling, that all these weapons which are produced right now, that they're not going to be used, against the enemy, against, the East and so on. I think our governments are going to use those weapons against us because they also realize that the future is not bright. And with all the actions which is going on right now, that this will lead, to civil turmoil and to destabilization within countries, because, they are creating scarcity. They are creating even more artificial scarcity than what we already are witnessing because of all, the stuff that they did over the last 6, 7 years in particular.
When you say the weapons, what do you mean? Like the government is going to use the weapons on you? What do you mean by that?
I mean, all these drones,
Oh,
total
okay.
surveillance, all the, we're going into this, yeah. I like in the US where you have ICE, going after the people. I mean, it's always, when things are getting more uncertain, when people are getting unhappy, losing jobs, inflation is higher, food becomes a problem. I mean, this is all leading to turmoil. And with the whole multicultural agenda, of course, I think that's part of the game, And at the end of the day, I mean, all these ruling elites, these sociopaths, I mean, their whole agenda has always been divide and conquer and fear and control, and that's what they are doing. And yeah,
I mean,
that's
in
yeah.
Switzerland, I mean, since you're part of the European Union, do you feel the censorship laws are keeping people from saying certain things in Switzerland, or does that not really affect you?
No, Switzerland, I mean, we're not part of the European Union. So, but when we can see, I mean, I just had a conversation with a German, at dinner with a German journalist from here in Ticino a few days ago. And I mean, so in Germany, I mean, people are scared, and also in the UK, you can see that when people are tweeting something, that they have the police the next day coming after them. So freedom of speech is really becoming a serious problem here in Switzerland. I mean, I write a lot. I also post sometimes some comments which are not political correct, of course. But so far, I mean, there's not an issue. As long as you don't threatening people or, are aggressive, that kind of stuff. I mean, you can still say a lot of things. But I mean, yeah, I mean, hate speech has been invented by the communists. So it's a totalitarian agenda. You have to, yeah, you have to, quiet. People must be
Yeah.
quiet. They cannot, and when they cannot talk about it, I mean, then it's just it leads to more confusion and more
Well,
anger.
it comes down to this. What is hate speech? I mean, what's hateful for me might not be hateful for you. So who's judging what's hateful?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think, the logic is, whatever destroys Western civilization is political correct and is okay. And whatever defends it is, politically
Mm.
incorrect and hate speech. I mean, that's a bit, the nutshell from my point of view.
Yeah. I see that. Do you think with what's going on in Europe right now, I mean, we have like Hungary, Viktor Orban, who's fighting against I guess the European Union, what I read is that they, want to have a different government in Hungary. So, do you feel like the European Union is now like maybe falling apart, or there are certain countries that are going to turn against other countries or the European Union with all this going on?
I mean, Orban is definitely. I mean, at the end of the day, when you look at politics, I mean, you only have national socialists versus international socialists. You
Mhm.
know, and so Orban, of course, it's the other side of the Hegelian dialectic at the end of the day. So, but I'm happy to have an Orban, and who is basically fighting for a sovereign country and his own people and refusing all this EU international multicultural agenda, all this bullshit. But yeah, the EU. I mean, I think it's a matter of time. The EU is a construct which cannot last forever. And it's really becoming more and more totalitarian, authoritarian, and all those crazy ladies, especially, they are really. I mean, it's a Muppet show. I mean, you cannot take those people serious, when you hear them talking on TV and promoting war and all that stuff. I mean, I'm right now producing an anti-World War documentary where we interviewed people from all different continents. We had Wilkinson, former chief of staff of Colin Powell in the States, Ron Paul, Scott Horton. We had some three generals from Germany. We had the former head of intelligence of the French intelligence service. So basically the counterparty of the CIA, just in France. So we really found Chas Freeman, an American ambassador, which was there opening up China together with Kissinger, and being, the American ambassador in Saudi Arabia during the first American war, the first Gulf War. So, I mean, and when you talk to all those independent thinkers, also high-level government officials, or at least the ones we interviewed. I mean, they are all saying, the Western world, the Western leaders are pushing for war, and it doesn't make sense what's going on. It's completely insane, you know, the war with Ukraine, the war in the Middle East, and also, yeah, because you cannot win a war against Iran. It's impossible, for example. 90
I,
million, it's a huge country.
I
And
don't
I think,
I don't know if it's impossible. I think that's what we've been told, that it's impossible. I think we've been told by certain individuals that the only way to win is a ground war or to invade. But what happens if there's a different agenda? What happens if the agenda is not to move in with ground troops, but to make the regime surrender by removing the regime and taking control of the strait? What happens if the plan is actually to remove the proxy army of those individuals that have been controlling the oil, controlling the energy price through fear tax, through controlling the strait? Because again, the strait is international water. Iran has no right to control what goes in and out of that area. That was set up. So, what happens if it's all of this, what we're seeing right now, is to remove that structure that was put into place something like 40 years ago, and actually with Obama actually sending them money and allowing them to create the missiles, create the terrorists, create that to keep the fear going in that region, to keep the oil prices where they wanted them. What happens if what we're seeing right now is to remove all that, to make the strait international waters? Nobody controls it. There's no fear tax on the oil. What happens if it's to give the country back to the actual people of Iran without actually going into Iran? What happens if it is possible? What happens if Iran isn't as strong as everyone believes they are? What happens if we were told that they were this powerful and this strong that nobody could ever win a war? You see, the thing is, this is what we've been told. This is what
yeah,
they tried to convince us of. It's almost like when they try to convince us of, hey, inflation is normal, having a central bank is normal, gold is something that you really don't want. Gold is something that nobody uses as money. Gold, you know, you don't need. So what happens if all of this, of what we're seeing for the first time in what, 47 years, we're seeing something different right now? And what happens if all of a sudden the strait is opened and there's no more fear tax, there's no more control of the oil? Because really, from that one central location, that's where the oil prices are controlled, from that one location, because of the fear.
Yeah, but I mean that's also, I mean the GCC is the backbone for the petrodollar, and of
Well,
course
what
if you
happens if the
destroy,
plan is to get rid of the petrodollar?
yeah, I mean of course I think that's we're going that direction, but that means also at the end of the US dollar as a world reserve currency, of course. And I mean, I don't, Iran, when you look into the history of Iran, I mean, Mossadegh, Operation Ajax, then they kicked out the democratically elected president. They introduced the Shah. The Shah had, the Mossad training his Savak and so on. And then the Shah has been, kicked out. They brought in Ayatollah Khomeini,
Hmm.
which also the Americans already supported during the Iraq-Iran war. So I mean, even the regime, the regime which so basically the West has implemented the mullahs, and if you think about, I mean, Iran was always trading oil with Israel through Mark Ridge, for example, up to 1993.
Hmm.
So of course, in the front, it was Iran is the enemy, blah blah blah. They had these political
Well, I mean,
games and so
Iran has
on.
been trading oil with China, been, very cheaply. The UK makes a profit off of rum, the oil fields there. So there were many different countries that were involved with Iran that were profiting hugely with Iran. I mean, think about,
Absolutely.
I mean, China, they were getting what, oil for what, eight, nine, $10 a barrel. Same thing with Venezuela, but that was shut down, and now they have to pay market price. So, I mean, it seems like the structure was set up a long time ago
Yeah.
to assist certain nations. And what happens if that's being shut down right now?
Yeah. I mean, if they show, I mean, to me, I don't see a regime change in Iran. Um, that I rather see, it might lead to a regime change in Israel, for example. I mean, also the guys who are really pushing the agenda against, aggressing against Iran. I mean, that's Bibi Netanyahu and his
Hmm.
friends. And I think also this Eres Israel, which is definitely the goal. I mean, yeah, it covers a lot of oil territory at the end of the day, and so I don't know. I think the old structure, yeah. I mean, before I think before they would go into Iran anyway. I mean, okay, let's assume that if the Americans put troops into on the ground in Iran, I think it will be devastating. But let's assume they are following the agenda which they always used in the past, then they basically would have to accelerate the war between the Sunnis and the Shias. Let the Muslims fight each other first. Let's weaken them, the same that they have done in Iran and Iraq, where they
Hmm.
basically made sure that they kill all the Shias. And I think so. It's before we're going to see something better down there. I think it will be, they really try to start this war between, the Sunnis and the Shias. And of course, this would also lead then, to sleepers, which we have in Europe and the United States, and terror attacks, and that will lead then, to the division of the local people against, the Muslims, and yeah. So what we have, what basically the political agenda has been, over the last 2 decades, flood, destroy all the cultures, promote this agenda of multiculturalism, destroy all cultures. No culture is superior. We have to destroy all
Hmm.
of them, and I think that's the big agenda which is still in play.
If the Iranian government that exists right now, the mullahs, and yes, I agree with you that back in the day, the CIA, the Western forces, they put the mullahs, they put these people in the place, just like with Gaddafi, just like with Saddam Hussein, all of them. It's pretty much the same. because back then, what did they do? They established the petrodollar system.
Yeah.
Right. If the Iranian regime surrenders and now they're no longer in power and the strait is open as international waters, the control of the petrodollar, of the control that they put everything into place back in the 60s, that Kissinger did when he went to the Middle East and put everything into place. All of a sudden, if you have international waters, the the price of oil changes because you don't have the control with Lloyd's of London, who's insuring the boat, the every ship that goes through, because really, that's what really controls the strait. Yeah, you can have missiles and all that other stuff, but those can be taken out very easily. What's controlling it is the insurance of, how much do you insure the ships?
Yeah.
If there's no insurance, no ships are going to go through. And that's how they keep the fear going and the price of oil, and that's how they can control it. When Trump initially started this mission or excursion in Iran, he removed that insurance and created a new insurance system, which is now controlled by the United States. It's no longer with London anymore. So now he keeps saying, bring the ships in, let them go. We'll insure it, we'll protect it. And he wants the allies which we're finding out are not real allies via NATO, because no one, they talk big all these years about, Iran and everything like that, but no one would assist. No one would do anything. And he said, go ahead, protect the strait. You need the oil, take it. There it is. France could do it. The UK could do it. The Asian countries could do it. Germany could do it, but no one did. No one came in and said, you know what, we're going to assist. We're going to protect it. It's our oil. We need this oil for our countries. Nobody did it. So they have two options. Either the oil is destroyed there, it's gone. Nobody needs it because everyone's showing us nobody needs it. And the European countries can continue to purchase their oil through Russia, or they can continue to purchase from the United States and Canada or Venezuela now. So it's odd to me when I look at this from my viewpoint in the U.S. is that they're all sitting there. We need the oil. We're going to have an energy crisis. Actually, every leader, Australia, I forgot to mention Australia. They all came out and said everyone has to buckle up. It's going to be awful. We're going to have an energy crisis. But none of these countries said, you know what? We're going to go there and we need this oil. So we're going to help and we're going to assist the ships going in and out. We'll bring our minesweepers in. We'll destroy the missiles on the side, whatever's left right now. And we will help control this area. Not the United States, but all the countries control this area so we can have free flowing oil. Where is everybody?
Yeah. I mean, maybe they just don't want to fight this ridiculous war.
So they rather
And
have
this and it might
they
also start the World War III. I mean, so
I don't think it's World War III. So let's put it this way. Everyone keeps talking about sleepers. Wouldn't you think they would use sleepers right now? Where are they? Where are all the sleepers? Where are all the Iranian terrorists that are going to do us that? Wouldn't they start doing this across the world? I mean, yes, they're very good at threatening. I'm talking about Iran. They're going to destroy all the data centers. They're going to destroy this. They're going to destroy that. But they haven't done anything. And all that happens is they're bombed. Like Trump gave them a deadline. The deadline is, whatever it is, we're going to destroy your energy plant. We're going to destroy your bridges. We're going to destroy this. And all they could do is bring, the women and children to use them as shields. They would sacrifice their people, their children, and they would sacrifice them and put them in harm's way. I mean, that reminds me of Ukraine. Ukraine used children. Hamas used children to shield their weaponry. I mean, to me, I feel like when a nation is at this point and they have to use their own people to protect something, it means they have nothing left. Because if they had weaponry of mass destruction or if they had weapons that could stop it, they would use that. To
I mean,
me, I feel like Iran is on their last leg. I mean, think about it. You know how many leaders of the IRGC have been taken out already? I mean, the Ayatollah's son, he's so banged up. No, I don't even know if he knows what's going on.
no,
So,
you know the best. I mean, some people claimed, that the son of Khamenei basically owns a mansion in London, 50 meters away from the Israeli embassy,
yeah,
sponsored and financed by two Jewish bankers from Hamad Goder.
yeah. I mean, no, they do. They own homes. Yes. Well, they're very wealthy. The family. The family's very wealthy.
Yeah, so I mean,
I mean, Soleimani's niece, where Trump assassinated him, she lives in I think California.
yeah, now she has been kicked out, I think, and the
Yes, her
green card
green
is not
card is
going to
being
be
revoked because
extended.
she's living
Yeah.
she's living the life. I mean, it's kind of ridiculous, don't you think?
See, at the end of the day, I mean, Dave, to me, it's really just a big Muppet show. And I don't know how, for me, it's all a script when I see what's going on. And I have, sometimes I believe, Putin and Trump and Khomeini and all, they're all partying together. It's the same club, and we are just being used as bowers, on the chess field.
Well, I think what's happening is that I mean, if you look at what Trump, I'll use this as what he does. He makes fun of the Europeans because he sees Europeans as weak. He sees Europeans that they won't do anything. Yes, they have a lot of pleasantries. They'll talk nice to you, but when it comes down to it, they won't do a damn thing. I think Putin and even Xi Jinping, I think he has a little bit more respect for because they will actually do something and they will actually protect their country. Where if you look at France, if you look at like Macron, if you look at Starmer, if you look at Mertz, if you look at all these so-called leaders, they're they're just puppets. They don't do anything. That
Yeah.
and
They're destroying our civilization. They're destroying individualism. The
yes.
Western world was well known, for individualism, that the individual stands above the collective, that you own your own body and mind. That's private property. No one can take it away from you. So, so that's what's at stake from my point of view, and that's what they want to destroy. And even Trump. I mean, Scott Horton told me once he was having an interview with what's the name? The guy, the American general Petraeus. I think it was Petraeus who said, the list with the 7 countries in 5 years.
Hmm.
I mean, he basically no Wesley Clark. That was Clark.
Yeah, that
Sorry,
was Wesley Clark.
yeah,
Yes.
Wesley Clark. So basically, Wesley Clark said, the list came from Netanyahu, not from the States. So I think what we are witnessing down there in the Middle East, really the aggressor, and also when I talk to these Chess Freeman, Ron Pauls and Dana McAdams and Scott Hortons and the German, okay, the German generals a bit less because they have a history, they need to be careful and so on. But the French guys, the interviews we did, I mean, they all see a strong hand of Israel, basically. And that's the aggressor, and they want to destroy the whole
But
Middle East. And Iran has always been, I mean, in 1993, Brzezinski wanted to take back Iran into the global society, and then basically Netanyahu came and said, no, it's impossible. Iran has to stay out of the club.
well,
And
see, this is where it doesn't make any sense because let's see, Trump has been saying the same exact thing since the 80s. He will bomb Iran
yeah,
into oblivion. He's never wavered from that. That is always what he said. And he said, if I ever became president, that's exactly what I would do. So basically, Trump from the very, very beginning knew what had to be done with Iran. So basically, we have Israel and Trump now bombing the crap out of Iran and shutting down, let's see what Obama set up. Because Obama sent over billions of dollars of cash over to Iran. You know what they did with the billions of dollars of cash with Iran? They built bridges, they built school. Oh, no, no, that's not what they did with it. You know what they did with the billions of dollars? They created Hezbollah. They created Hamas. They bought weapons. They bought missiles. They did all of these things with the cash. They didn't build schools. They didn't build roads. They didn't make their society. Actually, the people actually didn't get any of it. All the money was diverted
Yeah, I mean,
to
I think,
helping the terrorists.
I mean, Hamas, I think Hamas really has been, I mean, also founded by Netanyahu and so on. I mean, through Qatar, of course, because Israel never wanted to have a two-state solution, or at least, the guys who are in power. They don't want to have a two-state solution. For them, it's always, either we or the Palestinians. So that's where the aggression lies, from my point of view, controlling the whole area. I mean, the Americans did the same in Afghanistan and Iraq and Syria. Look at it. And we always, we always have been lied into all these wars. And so to me, as a Swiss, of course,
Yes, well,
Iran
you have to remember
was never a
all
big
these
threat.
wars, all these wars have been going on, and we call them the endless wars because all of the, I call them the deep state players, have been doing this. If you notice what's happening right now, Trump now is ending everything that they have done from the very beginning. Let's see, how many years has been Venezuela been cut off from the world because of Maduro? See, on the Western Hemisphere, the gang members, the cartels, those are the terrorists of the Western Hemisphere. Hamas, Hezbollah, Al Qaeda, ISIS, they were the terrorists of the Middle East. So there are two terrorist systems that are running that were controlled by, I'm going to say, the deep state players. Trump removed Maduro. Now, Venezuela, all the opposition that have been in prison there are now being released because, anyone that was going to run up against Maduro, they were thrown in
Yeah.
prison. So now they're being released. Cuba, communist nation. Colombia, communist nation. Let's see. Colombia right now is speaking with Trump. Mexico, who supports Scheinbaum, who supports the cartels in Mexico. Pretty soon, that is going to be coming to an end. Same thing with Cuba. They're releasing people from prison from Cuba. Cuba is going to be open, and I think things are going to change very rapidly in Cuba. So everything that was created in the past is now being removed, and soon you're going to see Iran is going to be a free nation. Iran is going to be a free nation, and the world is going to change. I mean, think about it. We have Saudi Arabia, Qatar, um, Bahrain, and the rest of the Middle East. They all signed on. Same thing with Israel. They all signed on to the Abraham Accords. And when the war started, isn't it strange that the terrorists in Iran bombed the countries that weren't involved in the war? Now, you're going to say, well, they bombed the military bases, the US, but no, they didn't. They bombed hotels.
With yeah, Palantir, Mossad, whatever. I mean, they linked it up.
So you
Yeah,
tell me
I mean,
Israel, who's fighting Iran, had Iran fire missiles into the other countries.
yeah, which
That
which
doesn't even make
I mean,
sense.
don't. I mean, I'm not a fan of the Iranian government. I'm not a
But it
fan of
doesn't
any
even make
government.
sense. That makes no
But
sense whatsoever.
I mean, look at Al-Shalan, for example. I mean, because when you look at the Middle East, I mean, Al-Shalan was an ISIS head chopper. And now he's been implemented as the president of Syria, and he had just did his Europe tour, and he was also welcomed by President Trump and so on. This is you cannot take it serious. I mean, there is so
Well,
much
put it this way:
bullshit going on.
the the ISIS terrorists, who is controlling ISIS terrorists?
From my point of view, I mean, it's Israel and the United States, and also the funding,
So during
through
Obama's
those GCC regions which have been artificially created after the Second World War,
so during
implemented by the West.
so during Obama's term, Obama took away the ability for the U.S. Army to bomb ISIS. Obama said, I'm going to show you where to bomb ISIS. Obama bombed Syria so ISIS could expand.
Yeah,
So the U.S. at that time didn't have the ability to bomb ISIS. Obama wanted ISIS to expand in Syria to take Syria over. When Trump came in, he gave the command back to the U.S. generals, obliterate ISIS. And you know what happened? They obliterated ISIS. They found the famous oil convoy that was heading into Turkey, where Erdogan and his son were making, billions of dollars off the oil. So all of a sudden, we're able to find the convoy. We're able to bomb ISIS and remove ISIS from Syria during Trump's first term. So that was Obama who was doing that. Like in our country, in the United States, and I see it throughout Europe, there's infiltration. The, they've been letting the Muslims in, even though you think Biden was the president here. It really wasn't. It was Obama in the background. They opened the borders to let the Islamist jihadists into the country, just like in France, just like in Germany, just like in the UK. I don't know if what you have in Switzerland, but they were infiltrating the entire world. In our country, it was started by Obama,
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, we bombed the
and
shit
actually,
out of the Middle East the last 70 years. I mean, what do you expect? You have people fleeing, the region and so on. And then, of course, you also had, the Western leaders who invented. I mean, they really, like Angela Merkel in 2015, which was saying, hey, come to Germany, everyone can come and so on. I mean, this is all. I mean, even Obama or Biden and Trump. I don't believe that they are the rulers. I mean, it's always a deep state in the background. That's why also most likely Obama turned gray in his period.
well,
I
I
think
think
they
he
don't.
turned.
They're all actors. They're all actors. They're implemented. They all have to follow the big movers, which are we are in the system. Look at everything is centralized. I mean, the banking system is centralized, central banks, money is centralized, government power is centralized. It's getting more centralized day by day. So,
Here in the United States, went down this path with the central bank. Think about when before the central bank. I mean, here in the United States, we've had three of them. Um, but when you look back in history, every time there wasn't a central bank, you know what we used to fund the United States government here? Tariffs.
yeah,
Okay. If you notice what Trump is doing here, what did he create? A tariff system. Ask yourself why. Now, we'll go to the economic part of it. Why would he want a tariff system in this country to bring in trillions of dollars? Because think about it. We talked about this before with the central bank. The central bank is a debt-based system. Agree?
yeah.
Okay. So with a debt-based system, how do you fund a debt-based system? You go internally into your population and you take their hard-earned labor, right? To fund the debt-based system because here in this country, through fractional reserve, we're they're creating currency out of thin air. We borrow
That's
it with interest attached, and we're enslaved into the system. So they take our labor, they take our money to pay for that interest on the money that we're borrowing. A tariff system takes the money externally. It's an income driven system, which competes with a debt based system. If you go back to the time of Andrew Jackson, if you go back to the time of McKinley, if you go back to the time they believed in tariffs. So a tariff system that creates income when you basically import, when the countries export into this country and we're importing the products, yes, there's a fee on that brings income into this country. So if you have external income coming into this country and funding the country compared to a debt-based system, now you have two systems that are competing with each other. And the only way to remove a central bank, yes, you could just remove it. Let's say Trump just removed the central bank. What would happen to the entire economic system? It would completely implode because where are you getting the money to fund everything? Because you have to look at the country as a business. I don't care what you say or what you do. You always need money coming in to run a country. You just can't pretend that the country's just going to run with no money. It's got to come from someplace. Because if you're going to pay for roads, if you're going to pay for anything, money has to come from somewhere. It's either you take it from your internally from your people in your country through their labor, or you bring it in externally. So if you are going to remove the central bank, don't you need an external system to fund the country?
Yeah, it's all about taxation and inflation. That's how you finance it. The debt-based system. I mean, look at, we just had last week, it was decided, that the pharmaceutical companies in Switzerland only have to pay 15% tariffs, but only the big ones. The smaller ones, they have to pay more. So, I
Mhm.
mean, all these tariffs also, it's you always, the big players always gain, smaller ones they lose. If you add tariffs, I mean, it's not that it always makes stuff more expensive. It always creates, fractions in the structure and so on. So it's nothing positive from my point of view, and it's just accelerating, the path we are on, and which is going to be. I mean, there will be a world economic depression and hopefully not a world war, but at least that's the agenda which is driven forward by our sociopaths and rulers. At
Yeah,
least
I think
from
it's
based on my observations.
I think it's the opposite actually. I think that's where they wanted to bring us. And I think this is why they have been trying to stop Trump every step of the way. If he's part of the system, there's no reason to try to assassinate him. If he's part of the system, there's no reason to try to indict him. If he's part of the system, there's no reason to have all the judges and everything in this country try to stop him. If he's part of the system, they would just let him do what he wanted. But every step of the way, they're trying to stop him every step of the way, just like they basically rigged the election in 2020 and they brought in Biden slash Obama because,
Yeah.
again, they were trying to stop what he was trying to do. From my point of view, what he's trying to do is remove the central bank. What he's trying to do is create a system where we have the ability to wean ourselves off the central bank. He's already started it. No tax on tips, no tax on our Social Security, no tax on overtime. He even mentions in the future that the tariff system will actually allow the people not to pay income tax anymore. That in the future, if we keep doing this, we can actually remove the income tax. So when you start to wean people off of the taxes, the central bank becomes an empty shell in the end. The central bank at that point, since it's no longer enslaving the people and we're using external money and we're not borrowing from the central bank, it becomes an empty shell. And it gives you the ability to transition from the central bank away from them and bring us onto a system that brings in income into this country. And everything that's paid for is through this system, not through the people's hard work. And if you remove the government and reduce the structure, which he's done, I don't know if you know this, but the United States, the amount of people working in government is
The
back to
Dutch. So,
1966 levels. And he's continually firing more and more people, removing the agencies, shutting it all down. Because this is how you remove a central bank system. So I think what he's doing is basically going after the central bank structure. And to do this, he has to destroy what they set up during the 60s, 70s when we came off the gold standard. Because they set up the oil structure in the Middle East. They
yeah.
set up Iran to keep control of the oil prices for the petrodollar. He is now reversing all of this and destroying everything they did. They needed Venezuela to be structured in a way where their oil wasn't free flowing in the open market. What happens if oil is free flowing on the open market? Doesn't energy prices go down? Doesn't the petrodollar then lose stability? Can we then move back to gold? Can we then shift everything? In the end, yeah. Because if I mean, oil is supply and demand. If you keep oil captive in Venezuela, you keep the fear of we don't know if we can get oil from the strait because, Iran will only allow certain ships to go through because they're in control. You can control and raise energy prices to where they are today. But if oil is set free in Venezuela, in the Middle East, and actually remove the sanctions for Russia and allow them to actually and open the markets for them for oil, what happens to energy? It drops. It drops a lot.
Yeah, sure. But I mean, they were also blowing pipelines up into the air. So there is an attack, and there is really something going on. It's really
But when you
oil
say
and
pipeline,
energy.
when you say pipelines, what do you mean? Like the Nord Stream?
Yeah, sure.
Well, that was Biden. Yeah, he
Yeah, of
wanted
course.
war
But
with Russia.
No, who? I mean, Biden. I mean, Biden was. I don't have to, Biden. I don't know. When I saw him, I always thought, the guy is. I mean, it's a Muppet show. I don't know what this Biden has been, or if he was really
Well,
always
no, he
Biden.
was
And
he was
I
well,
have no clue.
it was really Obama in the background. He was just out in front, you
No, I
know.
think we're going. This is all part of human depopulation, the Club of Rome. It's the COVID. Injecting people with stuff not tested. It was a huge experiment and
Oh,
so
that
on.
was, yes, I agree with that
So it's
100%.
all so these are dark forces, they're really, yeah, there is no, it does nothing makes sense what these guys are doing. It's all about, either you are with us, you're against us, and these two sides, the illusion of choice and so on. So to me, I just said I don't participate, okay, I just prepare. I really believe we are going towards very, very dark times, and very, very soon. It's really they are
Yeah,
accelerating everything.
I think it's the
Yeah.
opposite. I think everything is not going in that direction anymore. I think everything is going
Okay.
to turn. I think we're going to see a life that you could never imagine, and it's all. And I don't mean this in a bad way or anything like that,
Yeah.
but it all starts from the United States because again, nobody has a constitution like the United States where actual people have the rights that they have.
Absolutely, but no one gives a shit about the constitutions these days any longer.
Here they
I
do.
mean,
Here, see, but
yeah.
see
I mean,
here,
okay.
but the thing is, you have to remember, without it, let me just put it this way. If the Constitution was removed in the United States, what do you think would happen throughout the world?
I don't know. What do you
What what
think?
what do you think if the freedom here was completely gone? No, nobody had rights. I didn't have the right to speak freely. I didn't have the right for freedom of speech. I didn't have the right to own a weapon. I didn't have the right to make sure my house wasn't searched without a warrant. If all
But
my
that's what
rights,
they are doing. I mean, that's what they're all doing.
no, but now
They trample
every,
on our rights with their feet. They don't,
yes, but yes, under
But
other,
I fully agree with you. I mean, we need
but
the
I'm
free
saying
West. We need
what
the free
happens,
West.
but what
That's
happens if the constant, this is how important I think the Constitution is. If the Constitution is removed and there are no more rights, what do you
yeah,
think the UK, France, even Switzerland, Germany, all the EU, because you have to remember the EU, they're in power. That no one votes them in. So what do you think? What would happen? I mean, they went ahead and they implemented hate speech laws, and they're the judge of the hate speech. So if the United States no longer had a constitution, and that was removed, the rest of the world would fall. The
yeah. I
rest, of,
mean, we go back to barbarism. We go back to collectivism. We go back to the
yes.
Dark
Do
Ages.
you know why the vaccine
That's
passport
absolutely.
didn't work during COVID? You know why it didn't work? I mean, put it this way: Australia was implementing it, New Zealand was implementing
Yeah.
it, Europe was implementing it. You know why it failed? Because the courts here in the United States said under the Constitution, this is illegal. The people do not have to do that. And since that ruling came out, do you know all the other countries backed off? Why didn't they continue it? Why didn't Europe keep saying, no, no, we have to keep using the vaccine passport? Why didn't Australia do it? Because here in the United States, the courts ruled this is unconstitutional. You're not allowed to do that.
Yeah, absolutely. But I mean, the vaccine passport. I mean, it's just part. It's one part
You see, they
of
tried,
the
but the
whole
Constitution
stuff.
destroyed it.
But I think, they're promoting, these digital IDs and central bank and digital coins and that kind of stuff. And when they now
Well, they're
create
try,
artificial shortages where you have a family of four gets, I don't know, 50 liters of gasoline per month or whatever, that's the maximum. I mean, you're going to
yeah, but
receive a card. So it will start
Claudio,
there.
where are they doing this? They're doing that in Europe. They're doing it in China, where they want the
Abs-
digital.
It
Here,
always starts in the east. It starts
but
in the east
right,
and then it's coming
yes,
over. Yeah.
that's where the evil starts. If you
Yeah.
notice,
Mm.
but do you know here we have a law that says you're not allowed to have a central bank digital currency?
Yeah, I mean, we'll see. We
So
have
basically,
stable
there
US
can be
stable
no
coins.
central bank digital currency in the United States. But look, Europe is still pushing it. Why? But here we can't. We're not going to. It's
I hope, I
illegal.
mean, I hope for this, I mean, I hope for the States. I mean, I also hope, I mean, the Europeans, they don't want that. I mean, it's really the elite which are pushing
So
that.
where are all the people fighting back?
That's a good question. Because they're all indebted, they're
See,
all
here we fought
enslaved,
back.
They
Uh,
understand that when this system is going down, that they're going to lose their house and that they are standing there with in short pants because they don't own stuff, they are invested in things and everything is based on credit. And so I think the majority realize, when this system goes down the drain, then they also understand that they will be wiped out as well. And that's why they are, yeah, I don't know, go with the flow.
you can't
As
go with
long
the
as
flow.
as
You
long as
can't.
this goes.
You can't though. I mean, to me, it's mind-boggling. When Europe, the people of Europe need to start standing up. The people of Europe, instead of sitting there going, "Oh, I better not say something bad on X, or I better not say something bad on YouTube, or they'll come to my house." I mean, I've seen videos. I don't know how widespread it is. Where people are visiting people, the police in the UK or in
Okay. Yeah.
France or whatever, because of their laws, visiting people's houses. But I mean, this is what people have to fight against. I mean, you can't allow the government to tell you what you can or cannot say, what is hateful and what is not hateful. And if you just go with the flow and you just sit there and you say, you know what, I'm going to prepare for the dark ages, guess what's going to happen? You're going to
I
see
mean,
the dark ages because there's no fighting back. You have to fight back. You have to fight against these people. The entire European Union who implemented the hate speech laws, the entire structure, the people in these countries, they can't sit on the sidelines anymore. It's either you fight for your right or you're a slave. It's your choice.
yeah, absolutely.
See, here in the United States, the people, and you might be seeing it differently from where you are or people that you're talking to, but here, Trump is continually supporting the Constitution, the rule of law, period. The end. So every step of the way, what we're seeing here is something very, very different. We got our rights back. Not that we ever lost them, they were trying to take them away. They were trying to take away the ability for us to have weapons. That has been removed. Every step of the way, the entire structure that Biden slash Obama had in place to censor us was removed. It's all being removed. And the structure of going from the central bank to a system without a central bank is being now put into place. That's why they created a law saying no central bank digital currency. That's why all of this is being put in place. This is why he built the tariff system. If you look at the back at the time of Andrew Jackson got rid of the second central bank in this country. We were on tariffs. I know everyone thinks tariffs creates inflation. Tariffs do not create inflation. Creation of currency creates inflation. The more currency you put in circulation devalues the currency. You know this.
Yeah. Sure.
So what we're seeing here in this country, at least what I'm seeing in this country, is something different. I see that we're moving away from that old system. And the system that you see out there, where you're saying, oh, look at the war in Iran. Oh, look what's Ukraine is going to be ended soon, too. I mean, I'm not saying tomorrow, but what you're seeing is everything that they set up is being removed. Like Venezuela, I don't know if you know Venezuela, they actually funded the cartels, they funded the gangs, they funded the drug trafficking. Actually, if you look here, when Trump was going after Venezuela, there were certain individuals in our government that were against him going into Venezuela and getting, shutting down the entire drug operation there. Why? Because they were part of it. That's why they didn't want it shut down, because it's a huge money system. He shut down the oil trafficking, the human trafficking, the drug trafficking out of Venezuela. Any ship, any boat that left there was bombed from the sky. So they couldn't even sail a drug boat out of Venezuela. Shut it all down completely. Then release the opposition prisoners from the jail cells, which now they're going to be running for elections. Everything is changing right in front of your eyes. And the war that you see, if you want to call it a war, he's ending what they started 47 years ago, or maybe even longer now.
Okay.
That's what I say.
Yeah.
So, I
No, I
mean,
mean, yeah. I mean, of course, I also don't know the future, of course. It's
well,
just
nobody knows the future,
I
but
do my observations and I look at certain
yeah.
things. And yeah, I mean, hopefully you are right. If
Well, we'll
everything is
see,
coming
won't we?
good and everything will be fine, that will be perfect. I mean,
Put it this
don't
way: if
get me
I'm
wrong.
right,
I also rather prefer, your scenario, that everything is going to be nice and there will be no world economic depression and no wars and society which is so strongly divided also in the States that they're gonna get along again with each other. I mean, that would be amazing. Absolutely.
well, Claudio,
I
we'll know
I
from.
talk, I mean, I'm not. I also do my stuff. I mean,
Yes, I
and
agree.
what I do is, I basically I don't finance this system any longer. So I mean, all my wealth is basically I'm not speculating, I'm not investing, I'm not in paper money. I have my liquidity all in physical precious metals, and so I don't support this system, and I don't care about the system if it's coming down. I will not be affected. I will be affected of what's going on in my country, in my culture, my neighbors, and so on. And what I tried over the last few years was basically just raising the idea of peaceful secession. I love non-centralization. I'm a guy very much in favor of decentralization.
I
And
agree with that 100%. I
and
agree. I
therefore
believe
that's
that you should
the
be in
competition
gold.
of
I agree.
ideas, also competition of ideas. If San Francisco wants to become a communistic hotspot, then you have to sing the international every morning and everyone owns everything. Fine, if they want to have a communist San Francisco, they should do it. But if the guys in Florida wants to have capitalism, free speech, no taxation, whatever, then this should also be allowed. So I think that's where we have to go. Because
Mhm.
and at the moment I just see more turmoil and more division and more hatred. I mean, on all channels, there is much more hate you can find. I think it's part of the whole agenda. It's because that's the oldest play or oldest game in town
Mhm.
is to divide those people, to make sure that they don't look up and really understand who stands behind the whole fucked up situation that we are in. And so let's
Well,
wait and see what's coming
we'll,
out of
we'll,
it.
we'll see. The next time we talk, it's either that we're in bunkers and we're speaking over a system that nobody can, that nobody can access, and we're in the dark and we're saying, okay, are you okay? I'm okay. Or we'll be talking, going, holy crap, I can't believe this. We got rid of the central bank and look at everything today. So we'll find out, won't we?
Absolutely. No, I mean, the future will show.
And we'll definitely find out. Claudio, thank you very much for being on the spotlight. I mean,
Dave,
if people wanted
pleasure.
to, see your work or get in contact with you, where should they go?
They can go on my homepage, claudiograss.ch. And as I said, maybe, yeah, I'm doing this World War III interview series.
Okay.
I mean, I did this movie, together with my friend, which I'm also producing this movie. The first one was about Corona,
Hmm.
which was quite a success, because we have been blocked and censored from the beginning. But
There you go.
this one is really the same. We have picked we handpicked excellent individuals from the military governmental environment, bringing a lot of expertise, and the most of them are old enough to speak their own mind.
Hmm.
They are independent now, and so on my blog you will also find the full interviews. And then I think the anti-war documentary, the aim is basically to show that we have been lied into every single war,
Yeah, I
and
agree.
that the idea of government, is really it's a bad idea. It's people should read Frederick Bastiat, The Law. I mean, it's a short essay, amazing. Just to show. I mean, we are grown up. We don't need rulers. And when we look at those sociopaths which are ruling over us, I think then a little bit more competition would be extremely positive.
And they can find your documentaries on
on my homepage.
claudiopress.ch.
Yeah,
Okay, great.
absolutely, on my
All
blog.
right, I'll put that link at the bottom of the video. Claudio, thank you for
Perfect.
being in the spotlight. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Dave.
Thank
All the
you.
best. Ciao.